Do you think it was a mistake to force that many service members out because they wouldn't take an experimental vaccine? I know you got to be careful.
I do not have the luxury of being afforded an opinion on that, sir.
Some of the recruiting issues that you guys are having. I want to see if, I want to ask your opinion. Why do you think you're across the military having so many recruiting issues?
Yeah, so as you said, we share this challenge with the other military services. COVID had a huge impact on things, and it wasn't really until COVID hit that we saw this dip in recruiting and retention for whatever reason. I think, and a lot of this would just be supposition, so I have to be careful, but I think it's set us back in terms of individuals wanting to get out there, serving their country, do something that's really challenging. And I think in the Coast Guard, what we suffer from most is exposure. People don't necessarily know who we are, especially young people who want a challenging and rewarding career in the United States military. We're getting after that. We've got a new campaign. We're opening up new recruiting offices. We're expanding our recruiting capacity by 38%. The numbers are starting to come back. So by early indications, we're having some successes.
So you think that COVID is the main reason that the military is having its recruiting issues?
I'm an optimist, sir. You hear these things about the eligibility because of weight and pharmaceuticals and stuff is lower in the average young population, that there isn't this propensity to serve. I hardly disagree. I think there are a lot of great young Americans out there who just don't know about the Coast Guard, that if they knew that we are law enforcement, that we're military, that we clean up the environment, that we serve the American people, I think we'll have a lot more folks coming in.
Thanks, Admiral. To follow up on that, do you think it might have anything to do with what you regularly hear is being described as some of the wokeness within the military, like CRT training, DEI training, drag shows on base, things like that? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Sure,
and kind of a loss of the focus of what the military is supposed to be about?
I just don't see that in the United States Coast Guard, what you're referring to.
President Biden announcing the new commandment of the U.S. Coast Guard, Admiral Linda Fagan, marking the first time in history that a woman will lead a branch of the U.S. Armed Forces.
We onboarded the class of 2026 at the Coast Guard Academy not that long ago, 43% women. My class was 5% women when I graduated, and I think that just speaks volumes to the organization, the commitment to providing work that's valued and in embracing all that people bring in all of their diversity, and I'm really excited about it.
Admiral Linda Fagan pledged the Coast Guard will redouble its efforts to be more inclusive.
You haven't seen any of that?
No.
You haven't seen a change in the culture of the military? How long have you been in, Admiral?
37 years.
That's, with all due respect, I find that hard to believe, sir. What about vaccine mandates, sir? You know that we lost about 30,000 active duty service members that refused to take the vaccine that are now being asked if they want to come back into the service. What do you think about that?
We welcome them back.
Yeah, I know, but do you think that has anything to do with recruitment efforts? The military is can be a pretty dangerous place to work, right, Admiral?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I left the military, sir, I was in E6. And I went into some of the most dangerous environments in the world, being in special forces. It was a lot easier for me. It was very easy for me to go into some of those spots knowing that my leadership actually cared about my well-being. But when service members, regardless of whether they're in the Marines, Coast Guard, Navy, etc., when they don't believe that their leadership is motivated by their well-being, but they're just, in the case of the vaccines, making them take experimental vaccines, knowing that the survivability rates were about 99.9%, and they didn't see the need for it, that's a problem. And it makes some of these young individuals question whether or not their welfare is going to be looked after, whether or not they're going to start a family and set down roots in a community and then be forced out for something like that. Do you think that has anything to do with the recruiting problem?
Well, Connors, so you've been there, right?
Yep.
Serving in really difficult situations. And to your point, I know that Admiral Fagan, Master Chief Pastor Jones, the senior leadership team, we feel like we need to earn the respect of our junior workforce every single day. And we work hard to earn that respect by supporting them in their endeavors.
Do you think it was a mistake to force that many service members out because they wouldn't take an experimental vaccine?
I
know you gotta be
I do not have
careful.
the luxury of being afforded an opinion on that, sir.
I understand. Thank you.